Joining us this morning to talk more about this and other topics, Senator Marco Rubio. Senator, good morning. Thanks for being back on. Good to see you.
Good morning.
Let's start with the current feud between some Florida lawmakers and the theme park giant Disney. Clearly, both need each other here. Do you agree with the move by lawmakers to change the tax district? And are you concerned this divide could grow even further?
Well, first of all, I don't think Disney is immune from any criticisms that it receives. And frankly, I think it should always be questioned about whether it should have anything that's special, like being its own county. Now, I don't understand every minute detail of this arrangement because I'm not in the Florida legislature. This is not something that was debated or passed in Washington. This is a state law driven by the governor and state officials. That said, I don't think this should surprise anybody. I mean, at the end of the day, you have a company that decided to lie and therefore damage the state of Florida by lying about some bill the Florida legislature passed, who seems to be willing to use its corporate power to speak out against the decisions of democratically elected legislators in Florida, but has no problem doing business all over the world and in places that are very repressive. For example, Disney cruises go to all sorts of countries around the world where, frankly, homosexuality is criminalized. And yet they have no problem doing business with those governments. So that hypocrisy is also always going to shine a spotlight on you and question whether you should have any special benefit from the state that you're damaging with your lies. But look, this is a complicated law. It was written a long time ago, and I'm sure that extricating the state from it is not going to be easy. I imagine they're going to have to pass other legislation to deal with the impacts that it could have, and this doesn't take effect till next year. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, a lot could happen in the next coming months. On a somewhat related note, Elon Musk's deal to buy Twitter, it sparked debate over free speech. Now, you've raised concern about censorship. So how challenging is it to moderate this debate on what's allowed, what's been banned, when there are so many different views on how that should happen?
Well, I think at the end of the day, the problem here is this, and that is that all the banning seems to be going in one direction, and that is anyone who comes from the right of center who has conservative views. If you're a Republican, if you're a conservative, if you're a supporter of Donald Trump, your chances of getting banned, your chances of being silent are substantially higher than anybody else's. And I think that's really the problem here. And so you've got a situation where you have a private company, right? But they're also become sort of the new town square. I mean, these private companies in many ways are like utilities now. The amount of power concentrated in the hands of Facebook, Twitter, Google, just a handful of companies, Apple and Amazon, make it a situation unlike anything we've ever seen. They have the power to squelch news stories, to destroy people, to silence views, to determine what's true and what isn't, even though they're proven wrong later on, and there's no recourse for it. And so I think there's a lot of concern about that. And I think the meltdown you're seeing is people that are afraid of losing the power to decide who gets to speak and who doesn't.
I want to try and get through two topics here, starting with inflation. It's a big issue now. Companies also raising concerns about China COVID lockdowns, how they could affect things, that with gas prices. What are you most concerned about?
Well, we're going to have another supply chain crisis because China is locked down. You know, China is doing a COVID zero policy, which is what I believe some leaders in America would have forced on us had we not had a democratic form of government, a republic that prevented them from doing it, and leadership like we've had in Florida to prevent that from happening. But we depend too much on China. It's very simple. We buy too many things that are made in China instead of made in the United States, and if not America, you know, in Honduras or Guatemala or Haiti in the Western Hemisphere, even Japan for that matter. But we buy too many things from China. It gives them a lot of leverage over us. Today, it's because of a pandemic. And tomorrow it'll be because they cut us off because they're about to invade Taiwan and they don't want us to intervene. So I've been talking about this for a long time. Before the pandemic, I issued a report from the Small Business Committee in 2019 that said we were dangerously dependent on China for things like medicine and high-tech components. We have got to have a strategy to get away from it. I've offered concrete ideas to do it. So far, the Biden administration isn't very interested in it.
I want to finish with this, the immigration debate in 30 seconds. A federal judge pauses Title 42 border restrictions. That's, of course, a Trump-era health restriction. So what do you want to see now as some Democrats join this as well from the administration?
Well, I think not only should that policy remain in place, but we have to begin to enforce it. Our border is being overrun. It's as simple as that. This administration and the radical left wing that controls this White House are inviting people to come here illegally by demonizing border officials, by not building the wall, by telling people they're not going to deport anybody who comes here, and by offering benefits via non-government organizations who, when you come here illegally, provide you those benefits as a pass-through. That has to stop. We are being overrun. I'm not against immigration. I support immigration, but it has to be legal and through a normal process, not this chaos, because this chaos means our borders being overrun, not just by people, 7,000 a day, but by drugs. They're flooding our country with fentanyl. We have to stop this.
Senator Rubio, we are out of time. Always appreciate you joining us. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.